You check your investment account. You've been putting money in for, what, 2, 3 years now? Maybe longer. And the number sitting there on the screen is fine. It's not bad, but it doesn't feel like anything is actually happening. Like, you've been doing everything right. You set up the automatic transfers. You didn't panic sell when the market dropped that one time. You've been patient, probably more patient than most people you know. And yet the account just kind of sits there, growing slowly, barely noticeably. And you start to wonder, is this actually working? Did I miss something? Is there some trick that the people with real money figured out that nobody told me about? My name is Rick, and I spend probably way too much time thinking about money, specifically about the gap between what investing is supposed to feel like and what it actually feels like when you're in the middle of it. That gap between the promise of compounding and the reality of watching your balance creep up by $43 in a month is something almost nobody talks about honestly, and I think it quietly messes with people's heads more than we admit. Because here's the thing. There is a moment, a specific, identifiable moment, when investments stop feeling like a chore and start feeling like something alive. When the math actually starts to show up in your real life in a way that's undeniable. And understanding exactly when that happens and why might be the most important thing you can learn about personal finance. Not the best ETF, not the right asset allocation. Let's talk about it. There's a phase of investing that financial content almost never spends enough time on, and it's the phase most people are living in right now. I call it the invisible phase. And it's not a failure. It's not a sign you're doing anything wrong. It's actually, weirdly, the most important phase there is, even though it feels like nothing. Here's what the invisible phase looks like. You invest, say, $500 a month. After year one, you've got somewhere around $6,000 invested, maybe $6,200 with some modest returns. After year two, maybe $13,000. After year three, closer to $20,000. And if someone asked you whether your money was working, you'd kind of shrug because, yeah, technically it's growing, but it doesn't feel like anything dramatic is happening. You're not suddenly financially free. Your life hasn't changed. The number goes up, but slowly. The reason this phase exists, and the reason it feels so underwhelming, comes down to a simple math problem that nobody visualizes correctly at first. Compounding doesn't grow in a straight line. It grows on a curve that starts out almost completely flat. Think of it like pushing a snowball up one side of a hill. In the early years, you're doing most of the work. Your contributions, the $500 a month you're manually moving over from your paycheck, are responsible for the vast majority of the growth you see. The investment returns? They're adding maybe a few $100s. Nice, but not life-changing. The snowball is small, and it can only pick up so much snow per rotation. This is the phase that makes people quit. They look at the modest returns, compare them to the effort and the sacrifice of not spending that money on other things, and they start to question whether it's worth it. Maybe they read something online about a stock that went up 400%. Maybe a friend mentions crypto, and the quiet, boring growth of their index fund starts to feel almost insulting. But here's the thing about the invisible phase. It is not actually invisible if you know what to look for. The work being done during this period isn't showing up in your account balance. Not yet. It's showing up in the base, the foundation. Every dollar you invest in this phase is a dollar that will eventually generate returns on returns on returns. You are building leverage that doesn't feel like leverage yet, but it's there. Let me give you a number that I think genuinely surprises people when they first hear it. If you invest $500 a month for 30 years at a 7% average annual return, which is roughly the historical average for a broad stock market index fund, adjusted for inflation, you end up with somewhere around $560,000. That's a real number. $500,000. Now here's the part that breaks people's brains. Of that $560,000, only $180,000 came from your contributions, the actual money you physically put in. The other $380,000, the majority of your wealth, came from investment returns, from compounding, from money you never actually earned through work. But when did that $380,000 show up? Not in year 3, not really in year 10. The majority of it, A genuinely shocking amount piles up in the last decade. The last 10 years of a 30-year journey produce more wealth than the first 20 years combined. Not slightly more, dramatically more. This is the compounding curve actually revealing itself, and once you understand it visually, once you picture that exponential arc and where you are on it at any given moment, the invisible phase stops feeling discouraging and starts feeling like something you just have to survive. Impatiently, maybe, but survive. I used to think patience was this noble character trait that disciplined investors had naturally. Like some people were just built differently, capable of ignoring short-term noise and staying the course. And maybe that's true for some people. But I think a more honest version is that patience, in investing, is actually just understanding the math deeply enough that you don't feel tempted to panic. When you know the curve is coming, you don't need willpower to stay invested. You need information. Okay, so when does it happen? When does the invisible phase end and the thing everyone is actually waiting for begin? There's a concept I think about a lot, and it's usually called the crossover point. It's the moment in your investing timeline when your portfolio generates more in returns in a single year than you personally contribute. When the money is making more money than you are, at least in terms of what's going into the portfolio. This sounds abstract, so let me make it concrete. You're contributing $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. Now imagine your portfolio has grown to, say, $85,000. At a 7% annual return, that portfolio generates roughly $5,950 in returns that year, just under your contribution level. Almost there. Grow the portfolio a little more, to $90,000, and suddenly the returns are $6,300, more than you're contributing. Your money just became your most productive financial employee. It is now working harder than you are, at least within the investment world. And the wild thing? That employee doesn't take vacations, doesn't call in sick, doesn't ask for a raise. It just quietly compounds every single day on an amount that is now larger than it was yesterday. For most people contributing somewhere in the range of $500 to $700 a month, this crossover point tends to arrive somewhere between year 8 and year 13, depending on returns. That's a wide range, I know. Markets vary, contribution amounts change. Life happens, but the point is, it arrives. For everyone who stays in, it always arrives. And when it does, something shifts psychologically, not just mathematically. Checking your investment account goes from being this mildly anxious experience, where you're hoping the number didn't drop too much, to something that almost feels like watching a plant you've been tending actually bloom. You start to see the returns as real, meaningful, yours. There's something I want to be honest about here, because I think most financial content kind of glosses over it in favor of motivation and positivity. The early phase of investing is genuinely hard. Not hard in a dramatic way. Not hard like training for a marathon or navigating a difficult relationship. Hard in this quiet, grinding, is this actually doing anything way. And the specific frustration of it is that you are sacrificing something real, spending money, experiences, things you could buy right now, in exchange for something that won't be visible for years. There's a term behavioral economists use, hyperbolic discounting. It basically means humans are wired to overvalue the present and undervalue the future. $100 today feels worth more than $150 in 5 years, even when the math says it shouldn't. We're just built that way. So investing, especially in its early phases, runs directly against one of our deepest psychological tendencies. You are essentially training your brain to behave contrary to its default programming. That's not a small thing, and pretending it's easy, or that discipline should just come naturally, I think sets a lot of people up to feel like they're failing when they're not. What actually helps, I've found, and I've thought about this a lot, is not trying to suppress the feeling that nothing is happening, but reframing what something happening actually looks like in this phase. Because things are happening, just not where you're looking. Every month you invest, you are lowering your future required retirement savings rate. You are expanding the number of life options available to you in your 50s and 60s. You are making it statistically more likely that a job loss or medical emergency a decade from now will be a setback, not a catastrophe. None of that shows up as a big green number on your brokerage app. But it is happening. Quietly, invisibly, reliably. There's also something worth acknowledging about market downturns during this phase. And this is the counterintuitive bit. They are actually not as bad as they feel. If you are in the invisible phase, a 10 or 20% market drop hurts your balance, yes. But it also means you are buying more shares at lower prices with every automatic investment. The mathematical reality is that early investors benefit from volatile markets more than they're harmed by them. The harm comes later, when you're withdrawing, not when you're building. Understanding this doesn't make a red portfolio feel good, but it can make it feel less terrifying. And in investing, less terrifying is often the difference between staying in and rage selling at exactly the wrong moment. One of the most useful things you can do, genuinely useful, not just theoretically useful, is figure out approximately where you are on the compounding curve right now. Not so you can obsess over it, but so you have an honest picture of your situation. Because a lot of financial anxiety comes from vagueness, from a fuzzy, uncomfortable sense that something might be wrong without any actual data to confirm or deny it. Here's a simple way to think about it. Take your current portfolio balance and multiply it by 0.07. 7%, the rough long-run average. That number is what your portfolio is expected to generate in a good year. Compare it to what you actually contributed over the past 12 months. If your portfolio returns are less than half your contributions, you're probably in the deep invisible phase. Still building, still doing the right thing, but the snowball is small, and most of the growth is coming from you, not from the portfolio. If your portfolio returns are roughly equal to your contributions, you're approaching the crossover. You're close. The curve is bending. This is when things start to feel different. If your portfolio returns are more than your contributions, you're past the crossover. The compounding machine is running. Your job now is mostly to stay out of the way. Now, obviously this is a rough heuristic. It doesn't account for years with poor returns. It doesn't adjust for inflation. It's not a financial plan, but as a quick sanity check on where you are in your investing journey, I think it's incredibly clarifying. It replaces the vague sense of, am I making progress, with an actual answer. And there's something motivating about being able to see your position on the curve, even in rough terms. If you're deep in the invisible phase, you can look at the math and understand why it feels slow. And know that slow is right on schedule. If you're approaching the crossover, you can feel the shift coming. That knowing changes the emotional experience of investing in a way that I don't think can be overstated. Okay, so here's where all of this becomes practical. Because understanding the compounding curve is interesting, but it only matters if it changes how you behave. The single most powerful lever you have in the early phase, the phase where your contributions do most of the heavy lifting, is increasing the amount you invest. Not dramatically, not in a way that makes your life miserable, but intentionally. Because in the invisible phase, a $50 or $100 increase in your monthly investment has an outsized impact on when you reach the crossover point. Let's say you increase your monthly contribution from $500 to $600. That's $100 a month. Small, probably achievable with some modest lifestyle adjustments. But compounded over 25 or 30 years, that $100 a month might add $100,000 or more to your final outcome. The early phase is when your contributions are punching above their weight, which means increasing them here, even slightly, delivers disproportionate long-run returns. The second thing, and this one sounds obvious but people underestimate it, is to leave the portfolio alone. Not check it constantly. Not make adjustments when the market drops. Not pull money out for things that don't absolutely require it. The compounding math only works if the money stays in. Withdrawals aren't just losing that dollar. They're losing that dollar's future compounding, which in the late stages of the curve can be substantial. The third thing is to actually know your number. Know roughly how much you have, what your expected annual return looks like at current levels, and what your crossover point is. Not in a way that becomes obsessive. I'm not saying check every week, but in a way that replaces anxiety with information. Most of the fear people feel about their investments is fear of the unknown. Shining a little light on the math is remarkably effective at calming it down. And finally, and I want to say this gently because I think it gets said too harshly sometimes, Start if you haven't, or restart if you stopped. Every month you're not in the market is a month you're not on the curve, and the curve is the whole game. The curve is where the wealth actually comes from. You cannot win a race you haven't entered, and you cannot benefit from compounding you haven't started. So, the exact moment your investments take off. It's not a specific calendar date. It's not a market event. It's not something that happens to the market. It's something that happens to the math, specifically to your math. The crossover point, where your portfolio generates more in a year than you contribute, is the inflection point. The moment the curve bends visibly, the moment the snowball starts to roll on its own. Getting there requires surviving the invisible phase, and surviving the invisible phase requires understanding it clearly enough to not panic, not quit, not pull money out for things that don't actually need it. It requires knowing that slow is not broken, that boring in investing is often a sign you're doing something right. There's a version of this journey that most people don't get to see from the outside. The part after the crossover, when checking your account starts to feel genuinely exciting because the numbers moving are large and they're moving on their own, when your portfolio gains more in one good week than you earn in a month from your job. That part exists. It's not a fantasy, it's just the end of a long curve that starts somewhere around where you probably are right now. You're on the curve. You may just be early on it. And early on the curve, while it doesn't feel like much, is exactly where you need to be. Now, if you found this valuable, like this video, comment your thoughts. Also, subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video.